Hi there, and welcome to the What's New webinar for the latest release of Mission Control. Version 1.50 will be available from the App Exchange as of the 7th of June 2019. So what we're going to do is just take a quick look at all of the high-level new features. So what's coming in this latest release? As usual, we've got a jam-packed feature set. So just taking a look at those major features, we're introducing the ability to distribute the hours manually across the duration of an action. We've added a few enhancements to the role page. We've done a major overhaul to the scheduler. And we've introduced a new feature called Project Stakeholders and the ability to issue a weekly status report to those stakeholders. We've enhanced the risk log as well as making some additional improvements to the billing event features. And another major feature, we've introduced the ability to auto-generate projects directly from an opportunity, and a couple of minor enhancements there that we'll delve into shortly. So taking a look at the hours distributor, previously when you scheduled an action, let's say you schedule an action for 5 days for 10 hours, and it's going to assume you're doing 2 hours each day throughout that period. This hours distributor, which is available from the Resource Assignment Wizard, will actually let you manually distribute those hours in an uneven way. So for example, instead of doing 2 hours every day, you might be doing a couple of hours on the first day, then nothing for the next few days, and then finishing off everything on the last day. So you've got the ability to get to the hours distributor and manually distribute those billable and non-billable hours. So as mentioned, the enhancements to the role page. Primarily, we've applied the Lightning Experience page styling when you're using the page in Lightning. You've also now got the ability to add in an asset role. So rather than previously where you were only adding in a role that was linked to a user or a contact, you'll now have the ability to create assets. So whether that's like meeting rooms, machines, placeholders for people that you don't necessarily know who's going to do that work, but you know you're going to need a particular type of person, such as a developer or a consultant. And we've also introduced the ability to specify a team assignment as a master team. So whilst a person might be a member of numerous teams, one of those teams can be set as the master team. So the scheduler, as I mentioned, has had a major overhaul. You'll see there's a lot more functionality that you're able to do. Primarily, you've now got the ability to look at the hours in detail. You can also get a summary of the hours. You've got the ability, as you previously had, to look at the actions, but you can also take a read-only view at a project level as well. The ability to group the information, whether that's by role or master team, and you can also adjust the scale, whether you're wanting to look at it in hours or days or weeks. So we'll jump in and take a look at that in more detail shortly. So we've introduced a new object as a child underneath the project called Project Stakeholders. Ultimately, this allows you to associate people to the project purely from a visibility point of view of what involvement do they have in the project. The project stakeholder can be linked to a user, a contact, or a role, and ultimately the main benefit of using the stakeholders is you're also able to distribute a weekly status report to those stakeholders. So that status report will give a summary of where you're currently at with the project, the milestones, and the actions. So following on the back of the introduction of the action pad and the issue log, we received a few requests from customers to say they would love to see that same level of functionality applied to the risk log. So pleased to say that we've introduced that. So the risk log can now be used as a standalone tool or as normal on the project overview. And similar to those action pad and issue log pages, you've got the ability to quickly create your risks. You've got those summary charts at the top, the ability to apply list view filters, sorting the list of risks, and then quickly closing them as well. Few minor enhancements to the billing management functionality. So if you're doing a periodic billing, you can now do that on a quarterly basis. You've also got the ability to issue a periodic retainer. So if you're charging a fixed fee, if you're charging a fixed fee over the course of a year, you might be wanting to raise those fixed fee retainer-based invoices on a monthly basis. So you can now do that. And again, we had a few requests from customers that were using the manual auto add feature where previously it was just going off and grabbing everything that was not yet invoiced and approved. Now we've introduced two date ranges, so you can specify a start date and an end date, and if those fields contain values, the auto add feature will only capture time logs and expenses within that date range. So another new feature that's coming that we're super excited to be able to offer you is the ability to automatically generate a project from an opportunity. So what you're able to do is you can either clone an entire project from the template specified on the opportunity, or you can actually build up the project based on the products that have been sold as part of that opportunity. And where you might need to, you can also map fields from the opportunity through to the project record. So just quickly covering those minor enhancements. In the previous release, we added in a field called action type on the action object. Since doing that, we've had a couple of requests from customers asking for a similar field to be added to the milestone and the time log objects. So they've both been added. In addition to that, we have introduced some additional fields at the milestone level on the overview tab of the project overview. Primarily, we've introduced the milestone budget, the milestone deadline, and the milestone type. And a slight modification was made to the hours allocated field on the project, basically just introducing an additional element to that formula that is deducting the materials cost scheduled value before it's indicating how many hours are allocated to the project. So obviously that's all well and good. So now what we're going to do is jump in and take a look at those features in a bit more detail. So let's get in and take a closer look. So we're going to start by taking a look at the Action Hours Distributor feature. So as I mentioned earlier, it's accessible via the Resource Assignment Wizard, and it enables you to manually control how the hours are scheduled and distributed across the working days within the action. So as I mentioned earlier, by default, the hours are distributed evenly between the start date and the end date. Now, in this example, you'll see that I'm the action owner. I've got 10 hours. Amy and Andrea are both helping me, doing 5 hours each. So there's a total of 20 hours of effort across this action. So we've actually scheduled this to happen from Monday to Friday. Now, if I click in and take a look at my hours distributor, by default, it's spreading those hours evenly across each day of the week. So what we're able to do now with this is determine who is going to do what and when they're going to do it. So rather than just assuming they're going to be doing everything on the same day, what we're able to do is actually say the majority of Amy's work is going to happen on Wednesday. So she's not going to be doing anything on Monday or Tuesday. And similar to me, the majority of my work might actually get done at the front end of the action. So I'm able to distribute that unevenly across each person who's involved with the action. Now, the figures from that hours distributor will actually be applied to pages like the timesheet and the resource scheduler and so on. So if you modify the action at all in terms of whether whether you reschedule it, so if you change the dates or increase the duration, this distribution will actually be removed. So you would need to come back in and modify that again. But this should actually give you a far more flexible approach of distributing those hours amongst your team members. So taking a look at the enhancements that we've made to the role page, as we mentioned, we've applied that lightning experience styling. So if you're using Lightning Experience, you'll now see your role edit page looking like this. The other thing is, as we mentioned, if I scroll down, we've introduced the ability. So if I get to my team assignments, you'll see there's an additional field here called Master Team. Now, only you can say I'm assigned to multiple teams here, but only one of my teams can be allocated as a master team, and that master team is going to be relevant when we're taking a look at the scheduler. So whilst I am a member of many different teams, you can see here that I'm set to be my master team as consultants. Now, the other thing that we've added in for roles is, as I mentioned previously, we were able to create a role that was linked to a user or a contact. Now, a third option is asset. So if I select asset here, you'll see that I get the option to just specify a placeholder, a name. So this could be that I don't necessarily know who I'm going to actually assign this work to, but I know I need to have a placeholder trainer that I can give this work to. So by creating an asset role and specifying the name, I'm able to have that role in the system available to assign work to. And then once I work out who is going to do the work, I could then transfer that work off to them via something like the resource scheduler. So as I mentioned, the scheduler has had a major overhaul in this release. So we're going to just walk through a number of the new features. So all of the existing functionality still exists. So obviously being able to see the timeline and the actions across those days. So you'll see now that we have two tabs at the top, the timeline or the month. So obviously I can toggle between those two. And that will obviously give me a month view across all of the work. Now we do have the ability to apply filters here as well. So if I do apply a filter and I actually reduce this down to just one individual role, that person's holidays would be visible on that month view as well. So we're just going to jump back to the timeline. So first of all, within the timeline, I want to just talk about these options here. So what we've got is the ability to specify what we're actually looking at within the timeline, and our options are hours detail, hours total, actions, or projects. So we're going to take a look at each one of these in a moment. We've also got this group by section, which allows us to control how our roles are being displayed down here. So you can see at the moment I'm on role. I also have the ability to group it by master team, and as you'd expect, that's going to group all of the people within the master team they're assigned to. And then the third option is the scale. Now the scale is driving what we're actually looking at across the top here. So we've got our default option of days, which is what you're used to seeing. But in addition to that, we've also got hours and weeks. So we're going to just click through and take a look at each one of these. Now you can see here I'm on actions. What I'm going to do is click on and take a look at hours detail. So what I get on the hours detail view is a summary of the hours assigned to each area. So I can see my billable, the non-billable work, any holidays, as well as any Salesforce events that might be taking up some of my time if I'm choosing to view events on my scheduler. So I can quickly see, what type of work people are doing, and just at a high level, how many hours are allocated to each person each day against each one of those billable, non-billable, holiday and events categories. So next we're going to take a look at the hours total. So what this does is actually summarizes the hours across each day, regardless of whether it's billable, non-billable, and so on. So you can quickly identify where someone might be over allocated. So obviously the green is showing us where people have availability, amber is showing us where we're actually getting close to capacity, and then red is showing us where we might be over a capacity. And we'll talk about this in further on in the demo, but we'll show you how you can actually control what is considered green, amber, or red. So going back to the actions view. So as a reminder, this is the most familiar view that you're used to seeing at the moment. So this is showing us each person and then each day across the period, and then all of the individual actions. So obviously being able to drag and drop and reassign work is all still there. One enhancement from that perspective is previously you could only reassign actions where the person was the action owner. You now have the ability to reassign work if someone is a contributor as well. So we're going to jump over and take a look at the projects view now. So what the projects view does is just collates actions from the same project. So for example, if we, let's imagine Amy was working on one action on the Billabong project on Thursday and then a different action on the Billabong project on Friday. On the actions view, you would see those as two separate actions. What the projects view does is summarizes those into one bar. So just giving you a cleaner look with less bars, just grouping projects actions together. Now, just to let you know that the projects view is read only. So if you are wanting to make any adjustments to anything, you would need to switch back to the actions view. So what we're going to do now is obviously just switch over. So we've got our group by, we're currently looking at it by individual role. What we're going to do is switch over and take a look at what happens when we select master team. So you can see by selecting master team there, it's grouping people into their master team. So I can see now everyone that's a member of the marketing team, everyone that's a member of the development team. I can collapse people out of the way if I'm not interested in looking at specific people. And then I can see everyone that's a member of the consultants and engineering. So just giving me a quick way of grouping people together to see what each person is working on. So I'm just going to jump back to the actions tab so we can look at these different scales. So right now I'm on days. I have the ability to switch to hours or weeks. So we're just going to click through and take a look at each one of those. So you can see there by switching to hours, I've now got a new scale driving my timeline. So I'm now looking at an individual day with all of the hours across that day. And then I can see when work has been assigned to each resource. Now, if I switch over to weeks, you can see again what I'm now doing is looking at each week as a summary, so I can see roughly where things are allocated to within that week, and it's just giving me a longer duration to look at. Now again, if I'm on the actions view, I can still drag these actions around and extend them and reassign them and so on. So what I want to talk about, obviously, in addition to the scale options, we've also got the ability to go into our scheduler settings. And you'll see that there's a slider for each of those scales. So on my hours view, I can choose to look at anything from 1 right up to 7 days at a time. Or I can, on my days view, I can, as you can on the current scheduler, you can look at anything from 1 to 12 weeks. And then when you're on the weeks view, you have the ability to zoom right out to a 52-week period. So we'll just save that and see the impact on the timeline. So now looking at the scheduler, what we've done there is actually extended out to give us a full year's view of all of the work that we've got allocated to people across those teams. Now, just jumping back onto that actions view, group by role on the day scale, just going to talk about a few additional features. So over on the left-hand side, you can see obviously we've got a row as normal for each individual role. A couple of additional features we've added in now. So if you are wanting to be able to get in and take a look at someone's profile, you can actually just click in. So if I select my profile, what this gives me is the ability to load in and view what teams I'm a member of. I can see which one is my master team. I've also got the ability to take a look at my skills as well. So what this will allow me to do is get in and quickly see if I have the skill in the first place, what my proficiency level is, and assess whether I am the appropriate resource to put onto this work based on my billing and cost rates. In addition to that, we also have the ability to jump in and access the chatter feed for that role record. So what you can do at this stage is obviously collaborate with other colleagues around someone's availability. Now, in addition to that, if we double click onto an action, we're able to open up the action summary page, which gives us access to a number of tabs. So we can edit the underlying action record or delete it if we need to. We can also access checklist items. We can access the user stories and collaborate on chatter at the action, milestone, or project level. And a great feature I'm super excited to say that is available now is the ability to actually create new actions directly from the scheduler as well. So I can see Chris has got some availability here. So what I can actually do is just start dragging and dropping and creating a new action. So I'm able to specify obviously the project, the milestone, and so on, all of the details that I need to do. And then I've been able to create that action straight away from the scheduler. Now, over on the right-hand side, just to explain, obviously the save button. So any changes you make will need to be saved. We're giving you a warning sign there, letting you know that there are changes to be saved. And then all of this is around navigation. So obviously, if you've navigated away from today, you can jump back to it. You can jump in and select a specific date that you want to jump to, and then your navigation buttons here allow you to move back 1 day or 7 days, or move forward 1 day or 7 days. And then up on the right, we've obviously got the filters option. So a number of different filters, programs, projects, variety of elements there, as well as the ability to filter based on any custom field that you've got on the project milestone or action. You also have the ability to obviously save any filters that you can quickly come back to at a later date. And any filters that you do apply will be remembered. So if you're using a saved filter, it would be persistently remembered the next time you come back. The settings, obviously we took a quick look at this earlier, but obviously we talked about those views. You can, on the hours view, you can also specify whether you're wanting to just look at a specific hour range. You can choose to load in Salesforce tasks and events. Here is where you would actually specify the shading for your hours total. So whether it's green below 50%, red above 100, and then over on the left-hand side, how we've got our scheduled and remaining figures, you can choose whether you want to view either or both of those. And the other thing that has come in as a request of some customers is the ability to actually download the view that you've got here as a PDF. So simply clicking that, it will download and you'll be able to export that as a PDF. So hopefully you will agree that there's a lot more functionality coming on the scheduler there, and certainly look forward to hearing your feedback on that. So we've introduced a new custom object which sits as a child to the project called Project Stakeholders. And this allows you to associate contacts, users, or roles to a project, identifying their stakeholder position. So you'll see here I'm on a project. I click onto my related tab. If I scroll down, I'm going to get to my Project Stakeholders object. Now I can see I've already got some stakeholders associated here, but I'm just going to quickly go in and look to add a new one. So ultimately, I'm specifying the stakeholder position, obviously some default values, but you can add or change those as required. So I'm going to say that this is an internal stakeholder. What I can do is, so I can choose to specify whether it's a contact, a user, or a role. So in this instance, I'm going to say that it is an existing user within our business. And as a result of it being a user, what I can do is automatically choose to add that person to follow chatter. So as soon as I tick that, when I save the record, it will make sure that person follows this project in chatter. In addition to that, I can specify whether I would like that person to receive the project status report. So save that. That's going to create a stakeholder record for Chris. Now, just talking more about that status report. So what I'm going to do now is just jump onto the console, because there are some settings that you'll need to be aware of. So on the control pad, so we have this new tile called the Project Status Report. So ultimately, what you're doing is activating this to run, and then you're choosing a date and a time that you would like this to happen on a weekly basis. So, and then you click Save. So then on an individual project, I'm just going to jump back to my project here. There is a new field added on the project detail tab. So if I scroll down, you'll see that you need to, if you want to subscribe this project to having a weekly project status report, you'll need to check this box to true, and then any project stakeholders who are subscribed to receive that report will, on the day and time that you specify, they'll receive an email that looks like this with this attachment. And I'll quickly show you what this looks like. So right now it's giving you a summary of the project. So obviously project details, milestones, actions. So it's giving you a quick summary of where you're at with that project. So allowing you to communicate on a weekly basis to your project stakeholders, giving them the ability to keep up to date with the progress being made. So as I mentioned, the risk log has been added at the request of some customers who really liked the value that the action pad and the issue log have added to the system. So we're going to jump in and take a look at that. Now, as a reminder, we can use that as a standalone page or as part of the project overview. So we're going to take a look at in both instances. Now, we access the standalone risk log via the progress pad of the mission control console. You'll see there's a new tile there. So what we can do is just click into that. Now, similar to the action pad and issue log, you're able to select filters. So based on the list view filters you've created on your risk object, you'll be able to apply those list view filters to the action pad to the risk log as well. So you can see here I'm looking at all risks across all projects. So the summary section and the risk log section. In the summary, I'm getting my familiar risk matrix and the risk summary, a couple of new charts where I can see risks based on the category they've been allocated to, and then based on their status as well. Now, if I scroll down, I've got the ability to quickly create new risks here. I've got the list of risks to deal with. So if I click onto one of those, it's going to be populating the right-hand detail section. And I can also access Chatter to collaborate with colleagues if I need to. Now, if I do want to make any changes to any of these, I can either click edit over here, or what I can do is actually just double click onto the risk, and that will automatically open up the edit page. So I can make changes and then save that as required. And then if I feel that this risk is closed off, what I can do is just tick the checkbox here or up on the detail tab, and that will mark that risk off as closed. So what we're going to do now is just jump over to a project, and we'll see obviously the risk log has been updated here. So again, similar charts, scroll down, we've got the list, so we can quickly be adding in new risks here. So just by adding the risk in, obviously it just pops into the top of the table. And again, what I'm able to do is just double click in there and start adding in some additional information. And what that will do is automatically update the charts in the summary as well. So we hope you enjoy that. So we're just going to quickly cover off the enhancements that have been made to the billing event functionality within Mission Control. So as I mentioned earlier, we've added in the ability to offer quarterly periodic billing. We've also added in the ability to offer retainer-based fixed fee periodic billing, as well as adding in date ranges for manually generating the auto add functionality. So we're going to take a quick look at each one of those now. So just to show you, if I click edit on a project, what existing customers, if I scroll down, what you will need to do is just you'll need to go in and in the periodic billing frequency, you'll need to include a new value called quarterly. Now, once you select that, you'll be running your time and materials or your retainer-based periodic billing on that quarterly basis. From the retainer fixed fee perspective within the billing cycle, you'll need to add the retainer value. The other field that has been added is the retainer amount. Now, the retainer based billing works with fixed price or fixed price plus expenses. So what we would do is on our billing type, we could have fixed price or fixed price plus expenses, and then come down, we could set our billing cycle to be retainer and periodic billing frequency from any of the options that you require. And then what you can do is specify the retainer amount. So each periodic billing, so let's say I'm going to do that on a monthly basis, what this configuration would do is every month it will generate an invoice for $2,500 for me. So that would be generated periodically throughout the duration of the project. Now, the third option, the third enhancement is around the auto add functionality. So if I click on here to create a new billing event, so previously, you were able to come in, create a billing event, and choose to auto add the time logs and the expenses. So what that would do is actually go off and grab any time logs and expenses that had not yet been invoiced but were approved. Now, we've had some customers say that's great, but what I would like to do is be able to specify a specific date range that I want to go and grab. So what we've got now is two dates here, so the start date and the end date. So if I populate those, that will actually do the same functionality, but it'll only incorporate time logs and expenses within that date range. So it just gives you a bit more flexibility around generating those manual auto add invoices. So we're going to delve into the detail of the new feature that is going to let you automatically generate projects from an opportunity. So first of all, just to explain, what we've done is actually added in a checkbox field on the project record called template. And now what that means is only projects with that field set to true will appear on the console in the clone project tile. So you can see here I've only got 2 projects appearing there. Now, if I do want to clone an existing project that isn't marked as a template, then I can certainly still go to that project detail via the navigation menu and just click on the clone button. But just to keep things tidy for you, this clone project will only actually reference templates now. And that template checkbox on the project also means that any projects with that field set to true will be hidden from pages like the timesheet scheduler, whiteboard, and so on. So what we're going to do is just try and talk through the auto generation feature of the opportunity process. Now I'm just going to go over to an opportunity here and click on the details tab. Now there's 4 fields here that you will be able to add to your opportunity page layout. So I'm just going to click into edit and talk through these. So you'll see here that I've got a generation method, and we're going to talk through both of these, but the 2 options are to generate it based on the opportunity or based on the underlying products associated with this opportunity. We have the project template, which is ultimately a lookup to the project template in Mission Control that we want to use to copy. We can also specify the start date. And then ultimately, when we're ready to generate the project, we set this field to be true. So obviously you can do that manually, or you could actually do that automatically via a workflow rule or process builder. So for example, when your stage equals gets marked as closed 1, you could automatically update this via a workflow rule, and that would automatically create the project. So just before we go in and take a look, so just to talk through these options in a bit more detail. So the opportunity, this option will literally just clone this project in its entirety. So all of the project, all of the milestones, all of the actions, all of the contributors, checklist items, and any dependencies. If I select products, what that will do is it will still clone the overarching project, but then underneath that, it will only build up the detail in terms of milestones, actions, checklist items, contributors, and dependencies based on the products that have been sold as part of this opportunity. So first of all, we're going to take a look at this one, which is an opportunity. So I'm just going to jump back and show you the template. So you'll see under this project, we've got 3 milestones: setup, data migration, and training. Now, if I click into those, you can see we've got actions, we've got checklist items, we've also got contributors as well. So all of the data within there is set up for that template. Now, going back to this rip curl opportunity, what we're going to do is actually just mark that field as true. So we're saying now that we want to generate this project. So click on save. So I'm just going to do a quick refresh of my page there. So what you'll see there is the project has automatically been created for me. So I can now drill straight into that and take a look at that project overview. And you'll see it's copied the entire project. So we've got the setup milestone, the data migration, and the training. And again, if we click into all of that, all of the detail is sitting in there. If we take a quick look at the Gantt chart, you'll see all of the dependencies have been copied over as well. So that opportunity method lets you clone an entire project automatically from an opportunity. Now, we're going to delve into the products option on this opportunity. Now, just to let you know, there's a bit of setup for you to do prior to being able to use this method. And basically, what I mean by that is each product you specify whether, if you sell that product, whether you actually need to generate like a milestone on the project for that product. So you'll see here, so this opportunity, I'm selling mission control to this company. I've got some products associated to my opportunity. So I'm selling some licenses, I'm selling some setup, and I'm selling some training. Now, what I've already done is gone through and on these underlying products, I've associated I've indicated whether they need to be generated into a project. So obviously from the licenses perspective, that's not going to need anything on the project. So I've not done anything on that one. But if we take a look at the mission control setup product, what I've got here is two new fields that you can add to your page layout. So one of them is a lookup field, allowing you to reference a milestone from a template project. And we've also got this this project unit, which allows you to indicate how you're selling this product. So are you selling it in units of days, or are you selling it in units of hours? So if what I'm saying here is, if I sell this product called Mission Control Setup, I want to generate this milestone as part of my new project, and I want to base my my hours based on selling in units of days. So I'm just going to jump back onto our Quicksilver opportunity. So just to explain what's happening in the background is I'm not wanting to generate anything for the licenses, but I've set up my mission control setup and mission control training, both to require a milestone to be generated. So if we take a look at the details tab on this opportunity, you'll see I've got my generation method set to products. Now I'm actually referencing that same template that we just cloned in its entirety for the rip curl opportunity, but because it's using products, it's not going to copy everything on that project. It's only going to copy the milestones that are referenced on the associated products. So what I'm going to do here is just click on generate project again. So again, just refresh that page. And again, you can see that the project has been automatically created for me. But when I jump into the detail of this one, you can see that it hasn't included everything from the project template. It's only included the milestones that are relevant to the products that I sold on the opportunity. So I've got my setup milestone, and if I drill into that, I can see all of my actions and checklist items. If I drill into my training milestone, I can see all of that as well. So another thing to be aware of, obviously you might have some fields on your opportunity that you want to map into fields on your project record. So we've got you covered on that. So if we go to the mission control console and click into the control pad, so you'll see there's a tile now for opportunity field mapping. So what I can do is create my field mapping just by clicking into that. And this basically allows me to associate project fields to opportunity fields. So if I scroll down here, I can see that I've already chosen to map my project account field to be the same value that is on the account ID field from the opportunity. So you might choose to create some custom fields on your opportunity that allow you to specify things that you can map straight through to the project fields, and you would do that mapping from this section here. So hopefully that's going to give you a much more efficient way of building out new projects, whether it's using the opportunity method or the product method. And again, super excited to see how you guys put that to good use. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at those features, let's talk about when they're going to be available. So the release schedule, as normal, we're going to be phasing that out. So as of the 7th of June, it's going to be available for you to manually upgrade directly from the App Exchange, which you would do just by clicking the green Get It Now button. Following that, on the 15th of June, it's going to be automatically upgraded to all sandbox orgs. And then finally, on the 22nd of June, it will be automatically upgraded to all production orgs. Obviously, any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us. And finally, I would just like to say thank you for your time and hope you enjoy the new features.